Retro lunch break.
Yes.
Retro lunch break with Nick and Rick.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Retro Lunch Break, the podcast. This is a single player mode. This is the week ending in September 26, 2020. Today I'm going to talk about the big news announcement that Sony had. I was excited to see what was coming up. Let's go over some of the titles that they talked about. Now, Sony announced that they were going to showcase some launching titles. I think they were launching titles for the PS5, and the PS5 is a big thing because it's like the most groundbreaking, visually stunning console that should be out there next to the Xbox. Now, mind you, I don't know much about the Xbox, and frankly, for myself, I've been more than happy with what I've been getting out of the Nintendo Switch. But what was being shown by PlayStation, I will say, was absolutely amazing. And some of the titles that they announced, going in order from what I saw in the showcase trailer, they announced Final Fantasy 16, Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Hogwarts Legacy, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Resident Evil Village, Deathloop, Devil May Cry 5, Oddworld Soulstorm, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, and Demon's Souls. So let's start off with the first title that was announced, Final Fantasy 16. Starting off, this game was announced within the showcase. It was the first thing that was being shown. And Final Fantasy 16, to be honest, if it wasn't for the music that was announced or that was played during this showcase, I wouldn't actually have known that this was the next sequel in the Final Fantasy continuation. Now, full disclosure, I have not played another Final Fantasy title since X2. So perhaps my opinion is a bit old to say anything but about the most recent title that was being shown. Nevertheless, I'm going to give my 2 cents. Now, true, as a plane flies overhead. True to what is expected from the PS5, this game looks absolutely gorgeous. The characters look more lifelike, and they've gotten better since anything I've seen from Final Fantasy 15. Mind you, I have not played that title. I've only seen snippets and clips, and already that game looks amazing on the PS4. It makes me think of when I first saw Final Fantasy 8. I recall saying to myself, I was like, wow, this is like more attention to detail that was put into the game than more of the gameplay itself. I've tried Final Fantasy 8 and I haven't really finished Final Fantasy 8, but there was a major jump in game design from Final Fantasy 7 to Final Fantasy 8, and from here I'm seeing still another major jump from Final Fantasy 15 to 16. The way that the characters look is just absolutely amazing, and all the attention to detail when you saw the summons is just wow. And that's exactly what I said to myself when I saw this trailer. I said, wow, it just looks amazing. And sure enough, we were showing the quality of the characters in this trailer and a little bit of the story. Now, to be honest, at first I didn't really understand what was going on from what was being showcased, and I took this as a negative because it was really hard for me to understand that this was a Final Fantasy title. There's characters being shown. There was a chocobo, and at first I didn't really catch that. And then they started showing the action, and the action then again took me away from knowing that this was a Final Fantasy title. I think this was the same kind of action that you got in 15. But now, obviously, with what they were showing here, there is no existence of turn-based attacking, turn-based combat anymore, which I understand was taken away or there was a different version of it in Final Fantasy 7, the remake. I think there was an option that you could do either or. Again, that's another title I have not played. Well, the remake. I played Final Fantasy 7 many times, and the remake I unfortunately haven't gotten my hands on. But then seeing the Final Fantasy 16 and the action that was being showcased, this made me really sad as soon as I understand that this was a Final Fantasy title. When I think of Final Fantasy, I think of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, you plan out your attack, you figure out what's good, what's going to be most effective, and it's turn based. They take a hit, we take a hit, or we take a hit, they take a hit, or we attack them, they attack us. But now what I'm being shown is just, hack and slash, fight, nonstop action, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what I would expect from a Final Fantasy title, and it's not necessarily what I would expect from this upcoming Final Fantasy title either. I mean, I would rather, but again, this is just my opinion. I'd rather see that than what I did see, because it's how much can you change something before it becomes something else completely on its own, where if it just keeps on holding on to the tropes that we're used to for Final Fantasy, but it manages to change everything else around it, is it still a Final Fantasy game? I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. But instead of what we did see, or instead of my opinion, from what we did see from the trailer, it still looked amazing. Everything looked gorgeous. I did like what was being shown from the storyline, that the summons are being something that we have to battle ourselves and perhaps take on or control or master, instead of them being something that we just summon and do attack damage. And I for what was shown in the trailer, and aside from all my other complaints, I thought that was really cool, and I can't wait to see how that changes in the storyline, because there's been so many classical and amazing versions of summons throughout the entire series, and to see them take on a life of their own, a character like this in this series, I must admit that's going to be pretty cool, and I look forward to seeing that. But however, for me to play this title, I'd have to get my hands on a PS5, and I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. And even for this title, I can't say that I'm sold. So I don't know when I'll be able to play this, but I hopefully someday I will add this to the pile of games that I want to play, along with Final Fantasy 15. Moving on to the next title, we got Spider-Man Miles Morales, and this game looks absolutely gorgeous. And I have to start off by saying that I haven't played the previous Spider-Man title on PS4. I really want to, and I hope to someday. Now that I think about it, I've never actually played any of the Spider-Man titles on PlayStation. The last time I played a Spider-Man game was on the Sega Genesis. Oh, and that was a long time ago. Anywho, this Spider-Man title looks amazing, and I really want to play it. It looks like you're playing a movie. And actually, speaking of movie, the new Spider-Man game, or speaking of movie, I couldn't help but think about a scene that I saw during the trailer that reminded me of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, when that one scene where he's on the tracks and he's trying to stop the train, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And then he spreads out all that web, and it just holds on for dear life because he can't figure out another way to stop the train. And I thought that was a really good scene. And then there's another scene actually too. Now I think about it, in the Tom Holland Spider-Man, where the boat that he's on, the ferry that he's on, it gets split in half, and then he's trying to save everybody and stop it from splitting apart, and then he shoots out the web again everywhere, and he's holding on for dear life to trying to grip it together, just like that scene in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Wow, yeah, huh? It's funny. There was that. I wonder if there was one like that in the Garfield one. I don't know. But anyways, in this trailer, there was a scene where Miles is trying to save people on two bits of the highway, and there's this one chunk that's being suspended by the bands of the highway, and there's nothing else underneath it. There's nothing else connecting it to the other side, and you can see it kind of moving, and the people are stranded, stuck there, and you see Miles jump out and connect the two webbing together and trying to save them, and he pulls them together, and then he says this one line. I wrote this down because I love hearing this, and I love the emotion, and it reminded me of the scenes, and he's trying to bring them together because it's the best idea he can get at that moment, because everything's happening and he has to save these people, and he wants to save these people, and he spreads out his web and he pulls them together and he yells out, "I can stop this." And when I saw that scene, and it made me think of the movies, I will be completely 100% honest right here. It brought a tear to my eye, and I saw the magic and the true heroism that Spider-Man can bring out, and his struggle to try to do what he can in the heat of the moment to save everybody. And I saw that in this trailer, and it just made me want to play it 100% more. And this game looks amazing. The storyline looks like it's great, because if it can just give me with that one scene, I imagine there's still going to be 100 more just like it with really great storyline built into it. And I'm so excited for this title, and I really, really, really hope to play it someday. I really do. Moving on to the next title is Hogwarts Legacy. This one is going to be really short and sweet about me talking about it. I've never read any of the books, and I've never seen any of the movies, and I have no interest in playing this game, and I don't even know enough to review the trailer, so moving on. Next we'll talk about Call of Duty Black Ops War. Now, in this situation, I really, really wish that my podcast partner Eddie was here, because I think this is more about more of his wheelhouse than it is mine. I think he knows more about these titles than I do. And again, kind of like the Hogwarts one, I've never played any of the Call of Duty games, and I don't know anything about the series to comment on this trailer. And unfortunately, this is another title that I probably won't be playing, so we'll be moving on to the next title, to Resident Evil Village. Now, Resident Evil, I know some, not a lot. The last time I played a Resident Evil game was Resident Evil 2 on the classic PlayStation. Well, not the classic PlayStation that came out recently, but back in the day, in I think the 2000s is when Resident Evil 2 came out. And yes, I did skip Resident Evil, and I went directly to Resident Evil 2, and that game did scare me. Also, full disclosure too, I'm not good at the survival horror genre. I like it. I think it's interesting. It does scare me. If anybody out there who's listening to this podcast happened to listen to our Halloween Spooktacular, and saw us playing Clock Tower, which is an old Super NES title, even that scares me. So Resident Evil is definitely more than enough to scare me as well. And this trailer, it looked amazing. Again, the graphics that the PS5 is able to pull off is just stunning, considering that I am a person that's been with video games ever since I think my first console was the Commodore 64. Well, I can't really call that a console. It was a home computer. But speaking of graphics, I mean, I think that was is that even 8-bit? Maybe before 8-bit, and to see games come to such a level that they're at now, and what the PS5 can do, it's just stunning. It really, really is. And this game, Resident Evil Village, just absolutely delivers it. But mind you, again, speaking about the story itself and what was shown in the trailer, it looks amazing. I thought the storyline was really interesting. I didn't know that it was a Resident Evil Resident Evil game until they showcased the title of the series. And even then, I thought it was really cool that they showed the number of the game is in the word village, and I thought that was really neat. And this is a title I think that I don't know, maybe someday I'll watch it. I think this is something that I think Nick could probably talk more about. I think he's more in tune with the Resident Evil games, and hopefully he can play this game, and I can absorb all the knowledge about it from him. And hopefully, maybe even something we'll play on the show. That'd be awesome if we can do that. Sony, please send Retro Lunch Break a PS5 so we can review your games. Thank you. So moving on to the next title is Deathloop. Now this game looks totally cool, and I love the idea about messing with story elements in order to enable the main character to reach its task, complete its task in the most efficient way possible. Where it sounds like anything that involves multiple playthroughs where you can change one little thing and it can result in a constant chain, another chain reaction about something else. I think that's really neat. I love the replay value in that. Instead of just having your main directive, do this, do this, do this, do this. It seems like this game adds in the possibilities of you have the same goal at the end, but you have many different paths to take it. And in a community like this that we have now, where everybody and anybody can talk about games and speak about their own experience, Deathloop is, I think, going to be at the center of all this, because people can talk about how they accomplished the goal and how they went about it, and give other people who have played this game that oh moment, like, oh, I never thought of that, or oh, I didn't know I could do that. And to achieve that in this day and age, I think is more than impressive. And I give the developers, oh, I should have written down the name of the developers. Sorry, developers of Deathloop. But I think what you took on a great challenge, and it looks like you 100% delivered on it. And I'm looking forward to seeing this game. I hope to someday get my hands on this game. I think this is a game that I would totally play. The style, I want to say, reminds me of BioShock, and I really enjoyed that game. So I think that's why I'm leaning more towards liking this game, and it's making me want to play it more because it reminds me of BioShock. And then also I wanted to point out that I think it's really cool that there's an antagonist in the storyline or in the game that has the same abilities that you have, and is constantly hunting you down and making you think on your feet, and making you react to changes that character makes, and having, I mean, that has to be some sort of AI built into the game, and to have that chasing you down, so constantly making you think on your feet. This game just sounds so cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing playthroughs, run-throughs, walkthroughs, ideas, and I'm really hoping to see the community absorb and really build on this one. It's an exciting game. It looks really great. All right, now moving on to the next title is Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. Now, okay, I'm actually really glad that this trailer was being showcased within the Sony PlayStation Showcase, because this, I think, is going to really drive home what I was trying to say about Final Fantasy 16. I think if you took the trailer from Devil May Cry and if you played Final Fantasy music over it, I think you would have thought the same thing that I was thinking, in that kind of like moment of, oh, this is Final Fantasy now. This is how you play Final Fantasy now. This is the types of graphics I'm expecting from it, and it's just like that hack and slash kind of action and combat instead of the turn-based one. And not to say that's a bad thing, but it's more of, I expect that kind of combat from Devil May Cry. I don't expect that from Final Fantasy. So I think, again, not to talk bad about Devil May Cry, I've played I think Devil May Cry. I think I played Devil May Cry 1 on the PlayStation 2 a long time ago, and it was an interesting game. Storyline was cool. I think I beat it, but I think I played it on easy, and I don't know. I've never played another one since. And not to say that I haven't played one that's a bad title, it's just not for me. When I think of hack and slash, I'd rather play something like, back in the day, if I wanted to play hack and slash, I would have played Final Fantasy. I'm sorry, not Final Fantasy. Phantasy Star Online. That was my hack and slash title. And seeing this now, seeing what Final Fantasy has become, not to knock it down, it's just that I didn't expect it at all. and this okay. Let's go back to Devil May Cry, because Devil May Cry looks amazing, and it looks gorgeous. And I think this is a re-release title because it's special edition, and it just looks amazing. So I was left with the title with Devil May Cry itself and the action that was showcased in the combat. I was left stunned at how beautiful it looks. But then adding on to what I was saying about Final Fantasy 16, I was just stunned at how much they changed the series, and it felt, like I said, it felt more like we were watching a Devil May Cry trailer rather than the next Final Fantasy title, and we'll move on from there. Moving on to the next game is Oddworld Soulstorm. When I was younger, Oddworld, Obb's Odyssey, that was actually one of the titles that I had the ability to play, and I thought it was a really cool game back in the day. It always reminded me of a Sega Genesis title called The Humans, where it kind of has like the same kind of gameplay where you have an objective, objective to do, a goal, something to finish the level. And you have a set number of characters, and you have to figure out how to use the characters in order to get out. And you could sacrifice some of the characters, but if you sacrifice too many, then you don't win the level. And so you have to really think about how to go about it. And I was never good at that game, and I'm still not good at that game. And so when I got my hands on Oddworld Abe's Odyssey back on the PlayStation back in the 2000s, I was still the same. I was never really good at it, and I couldn't really get the hang of it, and I never got better the more I played it. Not to say that it's a bad title. It just wasn't for me. That's all. I'm saying. It's more on me. Oddworld. It's not you. It's me. And yet still, I think the storyline to Oddworld is really, really good and really, really interesting. And I think that what I'm seeing now, that we're moving on to the PlayStation 5, it's the next gen console. This is the year 2020, and this is the Sony PlayStation Showcase. They've shown Final Fantasy 16. They've shown Hogwarts. They've shown all these other titles coming out. And what else do they show with a strong oomph of this is what's coming up next and you should be excited about it, is Oddworld. And that makes me really, really happy, because I think the storyline in Oddworld is really good and interesting. You're saving your friends from the evil corporation, and you're doing everything you can to save as many as you can, and I think that's really cool and neat, and I'm happy to see that Oddworld is continuing on and continuing on as a strong title for the PlayStation. I'm looking forward to seeing this game. I'm looking forward to seeing people play this game. Hopefully, maybe Nick. I don't actually know if Nick is good at these titles. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. I'm not sure. I have to talk to him about it. But I'm happy to see it on this next gen console, and I'm hoping to see playthroughs of it, gameplay of it. Moving on to the next title is Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Now I have to say that this one was a big surprise, because I didn't know, for one thing, I didn't know that the FNAF series was still continuing. I thought it was done. Also, I should explain that I've never played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's titles, and I don't plan to ever play them, because, as I've mentioned before, I don't do scary games. I don't like scary games, and I don't like jump scares. No, thank you. And however, I will say that I am aware of the story and the lore of these games because of my curiosity. For anybody that is new to the channel, or maybe this is your first podcast, maybe this is your first time getting to know me, your podcast single player mode host, my curiosity knows no bounds. If I get curious about something, I will find out as much as I can, because I'm just so curious, and it's just like that old saying, curiosity killed the cat. And yes, I have depths, and I've dived into the depths of curiosity before, and to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't. And but the other side of that line, I don't know if everybody knows it out there, is even though curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. And I always try to find out as much as I can so that I know that I know about it now and I don't need to dive into it anymore. And the FNAF series was one of those because I was so curious about them and I wanted to know why they were so popular and what was going on, and come to find out that it has this underlying story, plot, uh, chain reaction that happens with each title. And I got really curious about it, and I thought it was. I wanted to know more about what was going on because each title kind of revealed more about the past and the lore and everything like that. And again, I thought that the series was done after the sister location, the FNAF sister location. And lo and behold, from the Sony PlayStation Showcase, there's a new title coming out, and I'm interested in to know how this fits into the whole storyline. I actually thought that the sister location title was the last in the series, and that was it, and that was done. No more FNAF games. And also, I have to say that I am a bit confused because I don't know much about the sister location title and how it plays into the storyline. And seeing this new title being released, it's kind of sparked my curiosity again, because I don't know how the Five Nights at Freddy's Five Nights at Freddy's FNAF. I'm saying the title of the games twice again. I don't know how FNAF fits, sister location fits into the storyline, because it takes place in the future, and now this new game looks like it takes place even further in the future, or it's still in the future. So I'm curious to know how it fits into the storyline. So again, this is a title that I'm not going to play, but I will be looking forward to seeing the community play this game, discover the lore, explain the lore, see how it all fits into the storyline, and continues the story of Five Nights at Freddy's. So this is a game that I will be interested in, but I probably will never play. But knowing Nick, and I know Nick knows, Nick plays scary games, so maybe we can get this, maybe we can get our hands on this title and we can play it on the channel. That'd be great. That'd be awesome if we could do that. Moving on to the last title I'm going to talk about, and that was showcased in the Sony PlayStation Showcase, is Demon's Soul. This title I actually know nothing about. When it was first being showcased, I didn't know what I was watching. I just saw the knight kind of like trudging through and going through like the corridors, and again, the gameplay and the graphics look absolutely gorgeous, but I didn't know what was going on. I had to do a little research on this one, on Demon's Souls, and I found out that this was a PS3 title, and I actually never played a single game on the PS3 during its heyday. And I didn't know about this title then, and I didn't know about this title now. And so I think what we're being shown is a remake of the PS3 title, which is really interesting to me because, as I mentioned, I don't know anything about this, but if it's getting a remake being done on the PS5, then is this title just as popular as Final Fantasy VII, since it got a remake on the PS4, and the continuing chapters are more than definitely going to be released on the PS5? So if that's true, I have to do some more research on Demon's Souls and maybe even try to find out and play it myself, because if it is that popular, and it is that if it has a high customer demand to be able to get a remake on the PS5, this has got to be a great game. So hopefully I can find out, hopefully I can get my hands on it, and hopefully I can try it out. Hopefully I can discover how the gameplay is, because I do like dungeon crawling. I'm not sure how to describe this game. I know nothing about this game. I really don't. But it's being showcased on the PS5, and so it must be a great title, or it must be something that the fans are demanding and wanting. So it's got me really, really curious. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Nick knows more about this. I have to ask him. And so that is it for the Sony PlayStation Showcase. Thank you so much for listening to me, taking the time to listen to the Retro Lunch Break, the podcast, single player mode. If you've enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. It helps build the channel. And from me to you, thank you so much and take care.
Retro Lunch Break.